For example, you talked about when I showed you the QR code and how I use it, technology. Hey, look, I'm 60. I'm still learning. There's better ways to do things. There's easier ways to do things. It's just be flexible, be ready to learn. And if you can't figure it out, find somebody who can help you. It's okay to ask for
Exactly.
help. Don't take anything personally. If you can communicate with the people around you, I'm not attacking you. I'm questioning the situation. I'm questioning the way it's done, right? And it's not about you. I'm not attacking you. I'm not questioning you personally. Maybe there's another way that's better. We all have to be willing to be flexible.
Welcome back to our show, Empower Your Life. I'm your host, Cindy Marie. The architect of the Warriors L.I.F.E code has been helping many entrepreneurs shift from worry and lack to abundance and being a L.I.F.E warriors. Want to know who's behind for this Warriors L.I.F.E code and what does L.I.F.E mean anyway? Let's find out more to live a life worry less with our next guest, Martin Salama. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Cindy Marie. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this show. And did I pronounce your last name correct?
Pretty close. It's Salama, but close enough.
Oh, Salama. Okay. So Martin Salama. Let me correct that.
All right.
Okay. So Martin, let's dive in. For many people out there who don't know you yet, and I would love you to share your transition point from, I would guess, being so overthinker, worry a lot, having a lot of negative energy, transitioning to now as a great warrior of your life. So share with us and relate to that.
So thank you so much. So for me, like you said, I'm called the architect of the Warriors Life Code, L.I.F.E. And that stands for live incredibly full every day. That's my acronym. And I wake up every morning and I say, I live incredibly full every day. And so that's my way of starting my day off. But let's jump back to the 2008. Okay. So in 2008, my wife and I were working on a project for 5 years. That started around 2003, give or take, where we decided we wanted to open up a tennis center. What started out, she came to me, she said, I'm having difficult time finding places to play tennis where we lived at the time, which was in New Jersey. And, I know you just closed the business and you may be looking for doing something else. Maybe you want to consider doing this. Let's open up a tennis center. So just a little background, I was always a people pleaser. I always wanted to make sure that everybody was happy, specifically my wife. So I was like, back in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's see what we could do with this. And we started a journey that took us 5 years from deciding if it was worth it, doing a study of what they call a feasibility study to see if it was feasible to do it. We get the information back and they go, yeah, this is a great idea, but just tennis alone isn't enough. You need to build more to it because you won't make enough from just tennis. Like, oh, okay. You should have a health club. You should have other things, so on and so forth. Okay, great. Then we start looking for land. Then we find the land. We have to negotiate with the landlord. Then we have to go and get architects and engineers. And once you have all that, we have to go to the city and the state and get all the approvals. So this took 5 years. And by that time, I was $3+ million into the project.
Okay. Ooh.
And I wasn't sleeping very well because, every night I'm figuring out other ways to make this happen, put money in, so on and so forth. And in the summer of 2008, we finally got all the approvals. Okay. So we go to the bank. We're like, okay, we're ready now. Everything's ready. We got the engineers, the architects, we got the contractor ready to go. And the bank says, we're not lending. I was like, wait a minute. Last year in 2006, 2007, if I came to you, you said, when you're ready, we'll give you all the money you need. Well, things have changed, I go, oh. A month later, Bernie Madoff, subprime loans, we hit what was known as the 2008 depression. Everything fell apart. And that financial crash ruined me. Overnight, I was broke. Stopped paying my mortgage, stopped paying my car payments. A couple months later, my son tells me, Dad, look out the window. Your car's being towed away. My car was repossessed because I stopped paying my car payments. It was not a good time. And it took me about a year to get myself out of that depression that I was in, which was situational because of the situation that was going on. And then I said, okay, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? I've always been a businessman. I never really loved being a businessman of that sorts.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm reinventing myself anyway. What would I like to do? And I looked over my life and I realized the times I was happiest was when I was involved in community events, and I was always a leader. And as a leader, people would come into the different like fundraisers and stuff like, I don't know how much I could do. I don't really know so much. I said, just give me a few hours a week or whatever it is. I'll show you how productive you can be. And I realized I was a life coach to them. I showed them their potential. It's like, oh, I'm a life coach. Maybe that's what I should do. Become a real life coach. So I looked into it and I found a school that I was going to go to. About 2 months before the coaching school was going to start, it was my 24th wedding anniversary, which happened to be the day after Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Tomorrow,
right? And she said, I want a divorce.
Oh.
And I'm like, wow. Now I can look back. I should have said to her, but I didn't get you anything like that for our anniversary. She could have picked any of the other 364 days. She decided that day to tell me she wants a divorce. Pretty not so good.
Not at all.
Not in a good place. I was sad. I was upset. I even though I knew it was coming, I never really expected it to happen.
Yeah.
Because I always had this thing, we could figure it out, but I was always rationalizing. All through my life as a people pleaser, I would rationalize that I was doing the things that I needed to do because it was for the greater good, right? And what I found after going to a life coaching school and developing my own coaching program, that the word rationalize is really 2 words. And I just recently came out with my card deck called Warrior to Warrior card deck. And in there, I have a card called the Rationalize card.
Awesome.
Right? And rationalize is whenever you think you may be doing something that goes against your values, you will rationalize all the reasons why it's okay. But what you're really doing is lying to yourself that it's rational to think that. They're nothing more than rational lies. Right? So, and that made me look back over my life and realize all those things I was doing that I did all the time when I would rationalize those things. So I said, okay, I'm going to go through the coaching anyway. And it was the best decision I made. And looking back now, other than our 4 children, her asking me for the divorce was the greatest gift she ever gave me.
Talk about that.
Because it was really between, everything I'd gone through the year before and the 5 years leading up to it, to losing everything and having to start over again and deciding to do this and going to life coaching. It was kind of like the universe or God was telling me, okay, you want to be a life coach? Well, let's make sure you're really feeling the pain so that when you go in there, you're ready to make the change. And that first weekend, I went to life coach training and they said, you can change who you are. You don't have to live with the way you've been. And I was always, because I found myself being a people pleaser, which I figured this out now in my life. What came with that was I took everything personally. I had a short temper and I had to be a control freak. And because I was a people pleaser, I always wanted everybody to say, wow, Martin, what a great job you did. I needed the acknowledgement, the recognition.
Yeah.
And then I read this book that they suggested I read called The 4 Agreements. Did you ever read that book?
No, I'm going to take note of that.
Yeah, it's by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Sorry?
His name is Don Miguel Ruiz.
All right. Okay. You have the hard copy.
Here it is, The 4 Agreements.
Okay.
And his
Gotcha.
4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. So, and it was that second one, don't take anything personally. It was as if someone had just told me a secret that everybody had been telling me my entire life. But until that moment, I wasn't ready to hear it. And he gave me the permission to say, wait a minute, I don't have to have the world on my shoulders. I don't have to say, if someone says you're an idiot, I don't have to internalize that and believe I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So that was a big turning point for me.
Amazing. When you mentioned all of this, a pleaser, short temper, and control freak, that was me. And I can totally
Welcome to the club.
I know, right? But I just, I think I have shared this with you, if not, for other people listening and watching as well. It was tough for me when I moved to Singapore, in work and live independently. That was the time that I have, because I'm also a people pleaser. I have to prove myself. And, back then it was 2008. And a lot of people from Philippines mostly would be, what do you call this? Maid or cleaners, just like that. And so, unfortunately, fortunately, I will always be mistaken, if not prostitute, and having a color, also coming from third world country, not holding a well-known university, the school or the bachelor degrees and all of that. It kind of like tough for me to really prove myself. And it only came to one point when I was working the last job in a corporate world. I just got tired. I told myself, it's enough. Like, I can't prove myself on and on and on. I'm not good enough. I'm not valued. I'm loved. It's the same thing that you said earlier, that we can change the moment that we own it. I love everything that you mentioned earlier. It's truly valuable, because a lot of people, especially nowadays, would say, oh, it's good for the young people. They can change, but for me, it's too late.
No,
right?
I was almost 50 when I started the change.
Exactly. And this is, many of my content that I usually post, especially when I post a motivational message with singing, I always remind people that there's no age limit, because there always proof out there that you can search that people can change, people can have an abundant life, and people can really have a happy and prosperous life. So,
exactly.
So moving to your warrior deck card that you have recently just launched or published, and I believe that this is now available in your website as well. And so you have already mentioned the acronym of the L.I.F.E. So walk on us. So elaborate for us and help us understand how this deck of cards and also the Warrior's Life Code actually helping people to live to the fullest.
Fantastic. But I will. So, and first thing is, so you and I are both now recovering people pleasers.
Yes.
There's recovering alcoholics, recovering gamblers. We are recovering people pleasers, because there might be moments that we slip up, right? So it's okay. We can give ourselves permission to do that. So, but anyway, so now I go through a life coach training, and I realize all these things about myself, and I start to transform myself. And I finish coaching training, and I become a divorce recovery coach. Makes sense, right? I just come over divorce. I saw how it helped me become a better person. But it wasn't finished yet. So I started coaching for a few years. But what was happening was I wasn't making a lot of money coaching. So I went out and I got a job, and it was a dead end job. Really was a dead end. I was making very little money. I was going in at 7 a.m. I was leaving my house. I wasn't getting home till after 7 p.m. And it was depressing. And I allowed that depressing part of it come back in, seep back in. And I looked in the mirror one day, a couple of years later, and I was the heaviest I ever was. And I was like, wait a minute, I got to put a stop to this right now. One of the things that I had stopped doing because I felt like I couldn't afford it was coaching. I said, I can't afford to pay for a coach. But you know what? It's an investment. You can't afford not to find a coach and figure out how to make sure that it works. So a friend of mine was talking about how he was working out at home with videos for 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, I can wake up a little earlier every day and work out and take a shower and still be ready to go to work for 30 minutes. So I started doing that. And in the first few weeks, it was very difficult because I hadn't exercised in years. I was following the moderated person on the video, and I still couldn't keep up. but I was determined. And after
Mm,
9 months, I lost 65 pounds.
fantastic.
But what also happened was I allowed myself to go out there and find ways to get coached in other
Exactly.
areas as well. I was reading better. I was eating better. I was watching better things. And
Mm-hmm.
one day I was doing something. I did this for a while, but one day in particular, I was meditating. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
ADHD. So can you imagine somebody ADHD meditating? What is this going to be?
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
but I
yes.
did it for 10 minutes. And this one time I was doing it, I had this download of information. And I
Mm,
realized that I loved my life. I was starting to date. I was liking myself. I was loving myself. I could go out there and date now because I wasn't afraid that somebody was not going to love me. Because
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
before I didn't love myself, how could anybody love me? So those are the
mm-hmm.
things that happened. So I had this download, and I wrote for 2 hours how much I loved my life, and I wanted other people to love it too. And that's where the acronym Live Incredibly Full Every Day comes from, right? So now I start dating, I meet someone, we get married, and we've been married for almost 5 years now.
Wow.
And then something happens in 2020. Do you remember something going on in 2020?
That's the pandemic, isn't it?
Right, the pandemic. So everybody tells us it's March. It's going to be 2-3 weeks, and then everything will be back to normal.
Right.
It comes to May, and it's not back to normal. Have you ever been in New York City?
No, would
No.
love to.
Okay. Have you been in a major city where going up the streets? You are you from the Philippines?
Yes.
Yes. So you know what Manila is like.
Yes. Busy.
Crazy busy. I've been to Manila. I know. Imagine if you're able to drive up the main street of Manila and not have any other cars or almost any other cars on the road. So now it's the middle of May, and I'm in New York with my wife and her children because she had a few children before we got married. And we go, let's go to New York City. We
Mhm.
live in Brooklyn. And we're able to drive straight down Fifth Avenue with never missing a traffic light because there's no other cars. So we can drive the distance
Yeah.
that we can. How fantastic is that? So I look at
Yeah.
my wife and I go, I don't understand. Why are we one of the only ones doing this? Why are we not worried? And why is everybody else
Mm.
worried? So I got onto Facebook and I said, I get it. I realized what happened was before I got onto Facebook is the last 10, 12 years, 2008, the divorce, gaining all that weight and losing it, it had prepared me to not worry about anything anymore because things will take care of themselves if you have the right mindset. So I got onto Facebook and I told people, you have to stop worrying. So let me show you how to go from being a worrier to a warrior.
Yes. Okay. So wait, before you start, for those people watching or listening right now, perhaps they might need some notebook or a pen, or maybe just listen and watch carefully because I think he's gonna share you very, very important and valuable information. So go on, Martin.
Thank you. Thank you. What had happened was after that, I said, I'm going to start putting my program together and come up with the things that are necessary for someone to understand that they have the control in their own lives as to what happens. It's how you see the world. If you see the world as downtrodden and depressing, that's what you're going to see. If you see the world as a beautiful place with opportunities and beautiful people, that's what you're going to see. Whoever the president is, whatever's going on in the world, it doesn't matter. Your world is up to you. So one of the things that I start my course with, I said, you know what? We have to understand where we are now and where we want to be. Who were we before, who we are now, and who do we want to be? So I have three of my cards. It's called admission, cleansing, and celebration. So the first card of admission, admit the way you're living now is not working. Once you've made that decision to yourself, you no longer have to look back and try to figure out what went wrong or how you could fix the past. You admit that you're ready to move on with your life and you can begin the cleansing process. It's admission that, and it's okay. Give yourself permission to say, I don't love the way I'm living right now, but it's up to me to change it.
Yeah. I think when they purchase this deck of cards, there will be I don't know if you have that sort of instruction that give yourself a permission that there will be a tough love instruction or messages here, but it's not
Right.
way of judging.
Right.
This is
Well,
way of loving you more.
exactly. So that's the cards. The cards is just a little bit to get an idea. Then I have a book
Mm,
and I have my course as well. And they're all called Warrior to Warrior. So it stays consistent, you know.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
really what I did also was in the front, you see there's a QR code over here. When they
Mhm.
go onto that and they take their phone and they put the QR code, you'll get a video of me talking for about 4 minutes how to utilize the cards.
Amazing. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
innovative, and very trendy, I would say. There are a lot of products out there like journal that would be a barcode, and once you click it, it will route you to the coach, just like what you said, and then give a very powerful or motivational
Right.
message.
Not
Wonderful.
bad for a 60-year-old man, huh?
Exactly my life.
I just turned 60 2 months ago.
Well, belated.
Thank you.
Fantastic. You're such an inspiration. People listening right now who think that really it's too late for you. No, please. You still have way, way long to go to really reach your full potential. So go on. We
Yeah.
have admission.
Admission. Then you go to cleansing, right? And cleansing is it's time to let go of the feelings that are holding you back. Feelings like anger, frustration, dejection, and sadness are not serving you at all. Only hurting you and those around you. Cleansing those feelings will set you free to move forward in your life without looking in the rearview mirror. Right? So then what they'll do is they'll start to say, what can I change in my own personalities, in my own things that are holding me back? And as they're making them, for example, I talked about that I lost weight. Now,
Yeah.
do you think I waited until I was 65 pounds lighter to celebrate?
No, you tell me.
I celebrated every few pounds.
Nice.
Every time I was able to finish a workout, I was celebrating. Every time I hit even the smallest milestone. Because if you don't celebrate the small milestones, you'll rationalize that it's not working. Because you're looking for instant gratification. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very important for many people to understand that, there's a power of celebrating each mile or tiny step, but also not too much of instant gratification, because this is what a lot of people would like to have as what you call overnight success. So I can celebrate and show it off.
Right. Exactly right. There's a very famous coach out there. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yep.
You know that name?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Gary V.
people say he's an overnight success, but it took him 10, 12 years of doing videos about wine every day for him to become an overnight success.
Yes.
It didn't happen overnight.
No, it's not. What we always miss is that the process, because we tend to see the result,
Right.
and because of that, back then there's no such thing as social media, right? So the access to YouTube, I don't know where he actually posting his video, but the access before wasn't as accessible as right now. But now we all have the chance, and it's a matter of who you want to be and what you want to become.
Exactly right. So it's the same thing with everybody here. Don't think that you can snap your fingers and tomorrow everything will be rosy. And here's another thing. If you know you have some of these negative tendencies and the people around you know you have them, don't point out, oh, by the way, look at me, I'm changing. They don't care. They don't care what you say. Just go and do it. And they'll notice it on their own from what you do.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess, many of us, especially who live closely with community, would always require that recognition.
Yeah.
And so my question to you, because you were people pleaser, therefore you kind of have that, I want to be recognized.
Yeah.
So this time when you recovered, how does it transition that, you're no longer requiring a recognition from other people? How do you celebrate to yourself? What usually affirmation or words of encouragement that you say to yourself?
Right. So that's a great question. So for me, a lot of that had to do with my giving up control, right? By
Mm.
not being a control freak and needing for everybody to say, oh, you got to do it my way,
Yeah.
or I would lose my temper and all that. I then understood, okay, like my children, instead of me being like the helicopter parent and on top of everything, smothering, hovering, and all that, I was like, okay, whatever. And they're like, what? I'm like, one time my son called me 2 days after a car accident. And he says, I didn't want to
Mm.
call you right away because I thought you were going to beat me up,
Mm.
not physically, emotionally. You were going to
Yeah.
say, yell at me and get upset. I said, look, you're a big boy. That's why we have
Mm.
insurance. Go figure it out. The old me would have been, call me right now. I'm coming down. I'm going to figure out what's going on. And ready to explode at anybody. So he's like, whoa, I mean, I don't know that guy. But it took a while for that to happen.
Yes, of course. Of course. And I think it's very important. I think also Gary Vee has been provoking a lot of parents to, and even the kids, to be not listening too much to the parents, because parents have really a conditional love. And also we can't blame the parents because of their parents, how they've been
Yeah,
raised.
right.
And we condition that way. And
It's
and I think,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't think
the
it's so
way
much
you're
about
saying.
not listening. It's about listening, but then making your own decision based on what you think is right. I don't want to
Yeah.
give them a thing that parents are always wrong, because they're not.
Yeah.
As I
Yeah,
grew
because
older, my father got smarter.
yeah, because a lot of parents would always say, I mean, I at least experienced that I'm your mom, I'm doing the best. I know the best. But we all know that as the generation change and the lifestyle also change. So it
Yes,
doesn't really necessarily mean that adult would know everything. Actually, new generation would also know something that we can learn. Would you agree on that?
absolutely, 100%. You're always learning. There's always more to learn. For example, you talked about when I showed you the the QR code and how I use it, technology. Hey, look, I'm 60. I'm still learning. There's better ways to do things. There's easier ways to do things. It's just be flexible, be ready to learn. And if you can't
Uh-huh.
figure it out, find somebody who can help you. It's okay to ask for
Exactly.
help.
As what Marie Forleos would say in her famous and bestseller book, everything is figure outable.
Right. I love that. It's so
So
true.
it's so true. And again, it's a very simple yet powerful message that what we attract, who we become.
Yep.
We
Yep.
say, what we communicate, that we really attract. So be conscious on that. Now,
Right.
moving on to entrepreneurial world, and because you've been businessman,
Mhm.
right? And would you share with us like your warrior techniques or warrior tool in an entrepreneurial world that you've been using for the last years
Yeah,
of your life in an
absolutely.
entrepreneur world, that never disappear, that always been helping you consistently when you practice, when you use that tool, when you use that strategy? What would that be?
Yeah, I would say that it would be always be open minded and understand
Mm.
that the people around you in your business, if you're the entrepreneur, even though they don't work for you, that they work for you, let them know that they work with you, that you are
Mm.
open to listening to what they have to say, and that your door is always open, and that it's okay to come in and explain what you think about things, but it's how they say it. For example, let's say you're in a magazine or something like that, and like, for example, I write a blog article and then my team looks at it and they don't really like it. So instead of saying I don't like what you wrote, say, I think what you wrote has some good points, and I think there's some things that we can improve on. We
Mhm.
can improve on. But don't go with a problem with no solution either.
Yes.
For every problem you bring, have a solution. If you don't have a solution, don't bring up the problem, because then you're complaining.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How would you respond to, because nowadays a lot of young generations started to also becoming the entrepreneur, and they always have this challenge that most of the adults like us have a hard time to believe them. Do you encounter that situation, and how do you transition to let them lead you instead
Right.
of feeling that ego and pride that I'm adult here, so I know everything
Yeah.
and I should listen to the young one?
Right. So yeah, it goes back to that four agreements. It's that one that don't take anything personally. If you can
Mm,
communicate with the people around you, is I'm not attacking you. I'm
mhm,
questioning the situation. I'm
mm,
questioning the way it's done, right? And it's not about you. I'm not attacking you. I'm not questioning you personally. Maybe there's another way that's better. We all have to be willing to be flexible.
mhm. Exactly. And I think it's also important how you communicate,
Right,
because
right,
there are people could be bossy, but if you're willing to speak in a more compassionate and kind way, I think that's where the adult and the younger people would able to
right.
merge.
And have empathy, not
Yes,
sympathy, empathy.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Right.
And so, I don't know, I have noticed this ever since we have talked in this episode that you're very energetic,
Thank you.
even with the situation or the events of your life that you have gone through. And also learning so much things right now with the technology, and you have launched this deck cards of warrior to warrior, and still being up to date, the trends and all of that, I'm sure, because you also have kids. So I'm curious, how do you keep yourself every time optimistic? Do you have some kind of morning
Yeah, I do
routine
have a
or
morning routine. I have a morning
share with us?
routine. So I wake up every morning, and the first thing I do is I take out a nice notebook. Okay.
Mhm.
Not one of those little pieces of papers or whatever, like a moleskin, something really nice. And I write three things down that I'm grateful for
Mm,
every morning. And then every night I do the same thing. The things that happen during the day that I can reflect on to find gratitude.
yeah.
So that's number one. Now, I'm Orthodox Jewish. Okay.
Okay.
So every day I put on what's known as tefillin, which are boxes and straps around the arms. And I
Hmm.
pray to God. I spend 20 minutes, whatever it is, in prayer. And there's one part in particular when I'm wrapping the straps around my fingers that I feel most close to God, right?
Hmm.
So that's my connection to God. Thank you, God. I don't ask for anything in that time. In my
Hmm.
prayers, it's not asking, maybe asking for overall health of the family,
Yeah.
overall good wealth, good things, but not, oh, please bring me $1 million, nothing like that. And then I say my every day to myself, I live incredibly full every day. L-I-F-E. Life.
L.I.F.E.
Why? Because now when I go out, I'm looking for the opportunities instead of
Hmm.
waiting for the problems. And for example, I just came from the supermarket. And
Hmm.
one of the things I do is when I'm on the line getting ready to pay or paying with the cashier, I say something that will make them laugh. And then
Nice.
I tell them, thank you for filling my quota. Like, what are you talking about? That it's my job, my quota to make sure that I make somebody laugh every day.
I love that.
Thank you. And they're like, oh, wow. Oh, thank you. So now I'm making a connection with them. They may remember, they may not.
Yeah, yeah.
But at that moment, they feel good.
Yeah, I love that. Um, I love that strategy, because when you mentioned that he lived your quota, it's because you are seeking how to serve more. It could be anything. It could be like what you said, making people laugh or smile or making them feel better. And for some people, maybe continuing, like, if you're on a weekdays, to serve people in a coaching session or
Right.
in a therapeutical or meditational. And I think, one of the things that for me, I also ask in the morning will be, how can I serve more?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
who who could I serve more, and what could I say, and to whom? I think it's very important that we create that sort of curiosity and
Mhm.
exploration, so then the universe, whatever you call it, they will generously share with us what we're looking for,
That's
correct?
right. The law of attraction. And then you take it further. It's so much more than just the basic law of attraction. There's much more to it, which is something I teach in my course as well. But it's all about giving yourself the opportunity to let the things happen through you, not happening to you or for you, which is also good. Happening for you is good. Happening to you. Oh, why is everything always happening to me? Right. But you asked about my energy. So if I walk into a room and the energy is low, I have two
Yeah.
choices. I can stay low with the energy, or I can bring my energy up and hopefully bring everybody up with me.
I love that. I love that. Does that happen in case that you felt the room full of, very low energy and you kind of suck it? Have
Yeah.
you experienced that? What did you
Yeah.
just go out? Okay, this
Yeah.
is too much.
It used to be people say to me, oh, when you walk into the room, it's like the light turned on. Right.
Nice.
And they used to talk about a friend of mine who used to say, when he walks in, it's as if somebody turned off the lights.
Oh,
I'm like, okay. But so I try to make sure that I turn the light on when I come in.
nice, fantastic. And you mentioned multiple times about this Warriors Life Code, and I'm sure a lot of people very curious of the programs, all
Mhm.
of the things that you share with your clients and
Yeah.
potential clients.
Yeah.
So where can we find you and your program and deck of card
Right.
for learning more and from worry to abundance?
Thank you so much. So I made it easy. I have a website. It's called connectwithmartin.com. And when they
Nice.
go there, they can buy my deck. They can pre-order my book, which will be out very soon. They can
Ooh,
also they could also get some free gifts.
nice.
For example, about a year ago, I was asked to be on a summit for parents. So they said, well, what kind of gift can you give for the parents? So I thought about it. I said, well, I have this thing, 7 tips you must teach your children about being an abundant warrior mindset.
Mm.
Good. I said, but how about this? And my team and I did this over a few days. We made a coloring book for the children on the
Mm.
7 tips you must know to be an abundant warrior mindset. So I did that, and I gave the parents another piece of paper that explained the 7 things. And then I had the parents saying, I want a coloring book too.
Oh, of course.
So there's an adult coloring book and a kids coloring book on the site. You can download them both.
Excellent. So that's
Connectwithmartin.com.
connectwithmartin.com. Very easy. Connectwithmartin.com. Oh my God. Look at that. It's full of energy. Yes, you turn the light on, definitely, Martin. And
Oh,
I'm so
thank you so much,
grateful.
Cindy.
I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And yeah, I'm looking forward as well for your book to publish. And I'm hopeful that a lot of people will find it as well valuable and really powerful to bring the warrior within them.
That's
So
right.
I have a last question for you before I let you go, Martin. So we've been struggling or having these challenges with opening up
Mm-hmm.
our situation to
Right.
anybody. And it's becoming more difficult, more challenging to open up to people who are very close to us.
Yeah.
So, since you have kids, and I know you have encountered this, what are those things that you could tell to people when they're experiencing that challenges in their life and they don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
open up?
Right.
What could they think to themselves to upgrade that thinking and perspective so they can willingly admit that they're having a problem and they need some help?
Right. Well, that's a great question. So, as children, we always look at our parents as they're perfect and they're always right and they can do no wrong. Right.
Mm,
But as parents, we know that's not true.
mhm.
So I would say allow yourself to show your children that you're vulnerable, that you're
Mm,
not perfect, and that they don't have to be perfect, and that it's okay to ask for help. Doesn't mean you dump on them all the problems that are going on in the world, anybody. But if you
yeah.
could show other people, and thank goodness for somebody like Brene Brown, who's brought the
Mm,
word vulnerable out of the closet.
yes.
Because when I was a kid, men never showed their emotions, never asked for help, never showed weakness whatsoever. We're in a different time now. But that
Yes.
doesn't mean you cry and you go, oh, woe is me, and you're worried. No, no, no. You show that you need help, and you
Yeah.
show your authenticity by being vulnerable. When you show
Mm,
your authenticity, people care more about you and for you.
yeah. I love that you also mentioned about the male, because I still believe that it's still not progressing as we wanted. I still experience a lot of men that I know that still covering
Yes.
all,
Yes.
and I feel very like hopeful that I hope that they would see a lot of men. And this is why I'm so thankful you mentioned that, because now everyone can have access on a video or on a
Mhm.
podcast to listen. For
Right.
someone, a man like you, 60-year-old, that hey, it's still okay to change and admit and to be vulnerable, to show your authenticity. Thank you so much for that, Martin.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cindy Marie.
Yeah, so everyone, if you do enjoy this episode by watching or listening, give us a thumbs up, or make sure that you could also share it to your friends, family, or whomever you think will be benefiting. Maybe also some men out there, so they could, learn that it's okay to open up. And also, don't forget to visit connectwithmartin.com for you to learn more about the practices, the tools, or the programs that he's offering, and some gifts that he's willing to share it with you for really, really transitioning from warrior to warrior of your great life. So thank you so much, Martin. I truly, truly appreciate this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And until next time, remember, take small, little by little step to forward to the greatest life of yours. Little by little, but surely it's going to be a progress. So keep moving forward, stay optimistic, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy that interview, and I hope you find it inspiring and motivating. Remember, stay optimistic and keep taking action slowly but surely for your big dreams. Thank you once again, and I'll see you on the next episode here at Empower Your Life.